Imagine not watching Oshinoko after what we just saw last week and combined with this episode, episode 7. It couldn't be me. We went from one of the most powerful moments I've personally experienced in anime with last week's incredibly engaging, if not heart-wrenching episode, to having a rebound in a way that felt completely realistic because not only does it show someone who was literally willing to take her own life, that she isn't alone and that all these people really do care for her. The way they allowed her to come back, not because she magically flipped the switch, but because the entire cast, outside of the production side that is, because we know how they like to craft narratives, were able to recraft her narrative and show the other side that the show didn't want to show, the positive side, and how there is no hostile energy towards her. And the way she then picked up Ai's mantle because they asked, like, what type of girl is our boy Aqua into? And the idea of studying and mastering and coming out of this episode, seeing her from her VA to her walk to the shots, just feel like, in a weird way, Ai has returned to Oshinoko in this really interesting way that really makes the possibilities of the show kind of endless. Now, full live reaction to episode 7 is available on my Patreon if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts. This was an incredible episode. Honestly, I had no idea how they were going to carry off of last week, especially given how heavy it was. But they absolutely made another 10 out of 10 episode that really felt different, but the perfect type of rebound. I mean, there's some funny moments like the fact that they're worried what about Aqua, he went out in that storm, what happened to him, maybe he's gonna be hurt. And then what do they get the phone call? Oh yeah, he's at prison. And just, it immediately goes from like, oh my god, is he hurt to why the hell is he at a police station, what's going on? But I like the fact that when you look at reality TV, and I kind of touched upon it last week with shows where if you read up on Reddit AMAs or just interviews in general, a lot of the people are like, oh, did you hate so-and-so from the show? And they're like, actually, we had one moment that got edited to make it look like all season we hated each other, but actually they're a really nice person. I love the idea that it kind of boils down to, if you're gonna be on a show like this, you need to have armor, in the way of not just getting thicker skin, but rather don't put your real self out there, because if you put the real you on national TV or a reality show or something for the internet to see, then basically if the internet pushes back against you, it's like having thousands of people say the real you is a piece of shit. And if you look at it, whether it's characters saying, if I think it was two episodes back, or maybe last week, but I think it was 2, character come in saying, ooh, at school, a lot of this negativity, this bullying's happening, and they use it as a way to propel that kind of narrative. But in actuality, from our point of view, we realize it was like one comment that really didn't bother at all. Or we look at Aqua in terms of how he's putting on his own fake persona, but Akane was really just wearing her heart on her sleeve, and yeah, most people, especially teenagers who had to go from having no negativity to the entire internet seemingly hating you, it's gonna eat away at you. And I think the fact that they don't shy away from the brutal truth about what that does to a person, how some people can handle it better than others, but at the end of the day, everyone's human. And the fact that they re-edited, we got through to some of the camera crew saying, hey, do you really want to, be an adult that doesn't look after kids? 17-year-old kids make a bunch of dumb mistakes. You really want to be on the side that just, manipulates them? I like the fact that they re-edit. They show the cut from the other side. Because it's not like she actually tried to cut her. She just lashed out and accidentally did it. And we saw what happened. Immediate forgiveness. Don't worry about it. But what happens? They craft things to make it look like she's the villain, and a reality show always has at least one good villain, and most of the time, based on anything I've looked up, they're actually not a bad person. There's some cases where sometimes just shitty people do get put on these shows and they actually are shitty, as you can see from just what they'll post about their life afterwards. I mean, unless they're just really wanting to play the role, but I think we can look at a lot of famous people and say, yeah, I don't think that's an act, that's just them being garbage. But I love the fact that once the internet starts seeing the real version, like, I love the image they show where it's like this one shot, it looks like, oh my god, this girl's about to cut someone up, she's covered in blood, but it's like a cooking portion of the show or something, right? It's very easy to make things look villainous when in fact it's edited to look a certain way. And the fact that they show the good times, funny jokes like, I only have like 100 pictures, I don't got a lot, and then our boy's like, sounds like a lot of pictures to me. I love the fact that they're able to rebound her image in a way that it doesn't clear the internet. As he says, like, 10 years from now, there's still going to be trolls, there's still going to be edgelords who basically are still talking about this and bringing it up. But the idea of going from collectively a majority who, if they ever bring up her name, saying, yeah, she's a bitch, going to actually, wow, look at, who she actually is. It's away from going from getting flamed online, as it gets said in this episode multiple times, to at the very least making it, you can navigate it a bit easier. And I love the fact that bringing Ai back into a show like this is really interesting, because up to this point, we have had flashbacks, we've had images or people talking about her, but the idea of having someone being honestly the spitting image is really interesting. It's fake, she's studied and studied, she picked the exact point around the age of 15, it seemed like she was different. Maybe she found someone, if only she knew about the kids, of course. But the fact that her mannerisms, the way she walks, like they told her to put on a face, and she put on a face, and our boy was not prepared. It went from looking at someone who was almost emotionless to lighting up for the first time, seeing the person he truly loved back in front of him. Of course, he knows it's not her, but the fact that, the idea of going from feeling like ever since he was a kid, losing her and dying in that way, to having someone reignite that spark again, it is gonna be interesting, because it really does feel like there's a relationship brewing there, and I'm really interested to see what they do here. The realism of Oshinoko is honestly second to none. It's hard-hitting, it's emotionally engaging, but I would say the biggest shocker out of really this reality show in general for me is how honest the characters involved actually are. Because when you get invited to this show and you see all the personalities, you're probably at least picking one or two characters. You're like, oh, they're gonna be the villain of the group, or they're gonna be mean, or they're gonna appear nice on the TV, but after the cameras are off, they're kind of hostile. But I love the fact that when they hear about what happened to her, they all rush over, and you can see, like, you know what? I kind of like this, because when it comes to these types of shows, one of two things is usually going to happen. Either someone in the cast or a handful of people in the cast are actually going to be very bad people that you're going to have to pretend to get along with unless you want to be painted as the villain. Or they're actually all decent people, and it's the production side and the editing side that makes it into the drama that we see. And I love the fact that this girl went from thinking everyone hates her to realizing, what a fool, everyone actually that is around me and is real actually does want to help me, and it just gives her that wake-up call that she needed. And it's just brilliant to see how they're writing these characters and the emotional storytelling, the moments when characters look up after crying. The animation doesn't need to go as hard as they do, but they do so for those added realism touches, and it's absolutely exceptional just from top to bottom. In a weird way, it kind of feels like this is where Oshinoko is really kicking off and beginning. It's like everything that came before is just kind of like the stepping stones to build to where the show truly wants to go. And I'm really interested of the possibilities of a season 2, especially given how much I'm liking the cast top to bottom. Characters aren't just there to be love interest to a boy like Aqua, but rather they may have crushes or they may have some flustered feelings, but that's just a trait about them, as it would be about any teenager growing up in a world like this, right? It's just so brilliant how they're writing this, and I'm loving my time with it. I think this is a perfect follow-up to last week's episode, but let me know what you're feeling down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell, of course, so you can get notified when I upload more Oshinoko. And as I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction to this episode available on my Patreon, where you can also get a video shout out like a few people are getting today. So we have Jessica Compton, Michael, Jornis Pierre, and Jonathan Bromlow. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.